What's up, Wall fans? What's up, social media world? Welcome to the live feed for episode 38 of Go Tell to the Wall podcast. If you're new to the live feed, I am the one and only Sean O'Rourke, your host for this evening and every Thursday evening, unless things happen, which often does. Holidays are coming up. We're going to talk about that a little bit on the podcast. So stick around. We're going to record the entirety of episode 38. Didn't put a nice little date on here. Got to keep track of things. That's right. My note-taking is very important. Very, very important. Note-taking, yes. Very intricate notes. Anyway, we're going to get right into it. I'm just going to get right into it. Stick around. Wall fans, Facebook friends, social media world. We are going to get into some fun stuff. Because that's what we do here at Go Tell to the Wall podcast, along with some ranting and raving because, yeah. Some people hate it. Some people like it when I get a little fired up. But you know what? I can't help it. So we're going to get a little fired up about some things tonight, but we're also going to have some fun, so stick around. Oh my. All right, Wall fans, welcome to another exciting edition of Go Tell to the Wall podcast. As always, I am your host, the one and only Sean O'Rourke, and welcome to episode 38. That's right, episode 38. We're going to get right into it. We do have the live feed going as well on Facebook as per usual. I'm going to stop explaining that at the top of every show because it's pretty much the norm these days. I'm sure Bridget will be joining us momentarily to keep me in line as per usual, which is a good thing this week because I'm exhausted from the holiday last week, Thanksgiving, and I'm exhausted from my daughter running around like crazy for the past few days. And in addition to that, I am drinking a stronger beer this week. Haven't had too many beers like last week, but it's a little bit stronger. So, you know, things happen. Things go off the rails. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But let's get right into it with the opening. Social plugs, as always. As always, you can find us on pretty much every platform. Not even close to every platform, but you can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/GoTellToTheWall. Also, follow us on Twitter at TellTheWallPod or follow at Magic Muppet. That is my personal Twitter account. And of course, the YouTube channel, which you can also hook up with, subscribe, all the good things. Check that out. And just search Go Tell to the Wall on YouTube. And most importantly, your central hub for everything, for all those things that I just mentioned, would be SeanO'RourkeLive.com. You will find links to all of those things, as well as some other content on the website, pictures, videos, and all that kind of good stuff. And you can, of course, reach out to us via that website, which you can also do on Facebook and stuff. We get more messages on Facebook, really, than anywhere else, and a little bit on Twitter, and also on Podomatic, which is our host. And I haven't mentioned that in a while. If you're listening to the podcast, or you're only watching on, especially if you're only watching on Facebook Live, or if you only watch on YouTube, please, 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 please subscribe to our podcast. Preferably subscribe on Google Play Music. Just search Go Tell to the Wall, or on I keep wanting to say iTunes, but now they call it Apple Podcasts. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Just search Go Tell to the Wall there as well. And of course, we want to give some love to where we host the actual podcast, which would be Podomatic. So you can look at Podomatic.com. They have an app and all that good stuff. Or if you don't like any of those, just look up our podcast on whatever you're using for your podcast consumption. Either way, just make sure you subscribe. Subscribe. That helps us grow, share, tell your friends, all those good things, and we will continue to grow. And we're actually seeing kind of exponential jumps the past couple weeks, and I think the website is really helping that, as well as YouTube and kind of all the other places we're putting out that content. So thank you to all of you for continuing to share all of that as well. A couple things, and we're going to talk more about a couple of these things, but I just wanted to start the show off with them. This week is Jimmy V Week, in honor of Jimmy Valvano and in honor of the Jimmy V Foundation for Cancer Research. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that when we get to sports, but just if you're not aware of that, be ready that it's something very important. It's something, I don't want to call it near and dear to me, but it's something that I find important, and every year I talk about it, and we're going to talk about it a little bit more when we get to sports, and it's not all about sports, it's obviously about cancer research, but Jimmy Valvano was a college basketball coach, and I'll get into a little bit more of that once we get to that point in the show as well. And I just want to give a quick update on Alec Rosenberg. We've been following him along. John and his wife are very good friends of mine. His wife Amy, and their other two kids as well. Really, his brother and sister-in-law are incredibly good friends of mine. That's why we've been following him. He's actually back home now in New York. He was at a rehab facility in upstate New York, and now he is back home in New York, I believe, Long Island. I don't know New York that well, but he's now recovering at home, doing really, really well, and we'll continue to follow his progress. But luckily now he is at home in his own bed, able to kind of, go through his own routine and everything. I mean, he's only 6, so routines, like I have a routine, but and I'm sure 6-year-olds do too, but it's still better for him to be in the home as opposed to, laying in a hospital bed, laying in a rehab facility, whatever it is. So congrats, Alec. We're all hoping for the best for you and following you along as you get better and as you're learning to use your legs more efficiently and all those good things. And we'll continue to follow that kind of over the next few episodes. And that's, like I said, really because Alec is one of my favorite kids around, and that's why we continue to to talk about him and support him and send our thoughts and prayers. I hate that, and because I do like sending thoughts and prayers, but it's become so stigmatized simply because here is an instance where we can just send thoughts and prayers because there's no action that I can give right now. They had a GoFundMe page and we promoted that and people donated, but right now there's no action we can give. So all we can do is send our thoughts to him. So it's so stigmatized, but it's one of those weird things where sometimes it's okay to just send thoughts and prayers, good vibes, whatever it might be, in a certain direction, and this would be one of those. And one more thing for the opening, I just want to give everyone a heads up. The holidays are coming up. It is November 30th today that we're recording this. Those of you that only listen to the actual podcast, don't watch the live feeds, you're going to be getting this on December 1st. But we are getting into the month of December. I have a 1-year-old at home. I have a wife. I have family coming into town. All kinds of crazy stuff. So there's a good chance, and I'll tell you right now, in 2 weeks, we're probably most definitely missing that podcast. But we may miss 1 or 2 in December. So just be aware of that if you watch on the live feeds, and if you're wondering and looking. I actually have a good friend who we missed a week, and he called me and he's like, "Why was your podcast?" And I was like, "No, sometimes we miss a week. Like, it happens." But because of the holidays, we may miss a week or 2 at the most. It's going to be 2 at the most, so just kind of prepare yourself for that. I know you're all going to be disappointed if we do miss one, but it'll be okay. And I'm promising you, we will have the highly anticipated first annual Go Tell Us the Wall Christmas special at some point in December. Just haven't figured out when we're going to do it. I've even got my little Charlie Brown Christmas tree here in the studio. I got to move it over. I should have put it in the camera. Exhausted this week. I did not set up the studio well enough, but we will be having that Christmas episode, so fear not, Wall fans. Lots of good stuff coming, but just be aware, if we miss a week or 2 here in December, it is because it's the holidays, and instead of listening to podcasts, because you should always listen to my podcast, and always listen to Go Tell Us the Wall, and always go to the YouTube channel, all those good things. However, when it's the holidays, especially if you have kids and family and stuff, it's okay, go spend some time with family. I'm kidding. You should still listen to the podcast. Listen to it with the family. Especially if they are Orange Menace supporters. That could be fun. That could be a lot of fun, actually. All right, let's move on to some social stuff. I've got some social, I feel like, is where we're going to rant a little bit this week. Now, I talked last week on episode 37 about I can't even remember the guy's YouTube channel, but there was a guy that had the YouTube channel where he was just blatantly abusing his kids, single father, abusing his kids and utilizing that for YouTube and internet fame. And YouTube caught up with him and deleted a bunch of his videos, and then he took all of his stuff down eventually. Well, YouTube kind of delved further into this. I spoke about it last week that they updated their terms and conditions. Well, over the past week, they delved further into this, to the point where they're really, really removing a lot of stuff. Because what's happening on YouTube, if you're not aware, is a lot of YouTube contributors are creating content that revolves around like cartoons or kids stuff, but really isn't geared toward kids. It's adult-themed, stuff, but it's a cartoon. Maybe it involves some Disney characters or other cartoon characters that kids are usually watching on TV, or really even on YouTube or somewhere else on the internet. But it's not content, finger quotes on the content, that you'd want your kids watching. It's really not. So YouTube's catching up with all this, and they call it the creepy kid problem, which is, this term's being thrown around quite a bit, the creepy kid problem. But what they did over the past week or so is they removed the ads, because a lot of times they'll leave the videos up, but they're not going to monetize them. I'm not going to get into all the monetization on YouTube. I'm still really wading through all of it. but they've removed the ads from over 2 million videos. And on top of that, they've removed the ads from 50,000 channels on YouTube. And it's amazing because really when all this stuff was coming out, we're realizing how bad it really, really was. And when you think about it, it makes sense. This is a public platform. I mean, think about the stuff that comes out on Twitter, on Facebook, and everywhere else. You're going to get the same thing on YouTube. People can put up whatever they want. And there's standards and all this other kind of stuff with YouTube, and they make you click on the little thing, you know, do you accept the user agreement and all this other stuff? But really, when it comes down to brass tacks, it's all an algorithm. It's all an algorithm that is pulling this stuff off, that is alerting YouTube, that is making them able to remove ads from these things, to remove these channels, whatever it might be. But at the same time, there's billions of people in the world, so they're constantly putting new content out there. You know, so even if you remove, let's say YouTube goes through and they're able to remove everything today. Everything that's questionable is removed today. Tomorrow, millions more of that kind of content goes up. More of those kind of videos go up on YouTube. So what that brings me to, and especially if you're a parent now, I implore all of you out there, keep in mind, YouTube is not for kids. It is not for kids. Now, there's kid content on there. I mean, trust me, I worked for the Mouse for a long time. We pushed a lot of content to YouTube, and in fact to the point where we had people monitoring comments and everything else to keep it kid-friendly. However, these people that are putting out those creepy kid videos and all that other good stuff, that other crazy stuff, they're not thinking like that. You know, they want to shock. They want this to be out there for what it is. So keep that in mind if you have kids, or if you know kids, or anything, whatever it might be. Remember, you can run into some crazy stuff on YouTube. It's just like the internet. I used to joke with a friend years ago, you know, I mean, the internet had been around for a long time. We're talking early 2000s. And we had another mutual friend that would constantly find, like, conspiracy theories. And, like, every day it was something new. That's bad for you. That's bad for you. I read on the internet, that's bad for you. And it was ridiculous. And I said to him one day, I was like, you know what? I'm pretty sure if you spent the time and searched on the internet, you will find a place that says water is bad for you. You should not drink water. It will kill you. Air is bad for you. Oxygen is bad for you. And I think that's a joke, but I think if we all keep that in mind, really, really keep that in mind when we're on the internet, when we're in this space, when we're on YouTube or all these social media platforms, keep that in mind. Because as much as it is a joke, it's also serious. So keep your kids off YouTube. Keep your kids off YouTube, and if you don't want to see some questionable stuff, maybe stay off YouTube yourself. Or I can promise you're not going to find any questionable stuff on Go Tell It to the Wall's channel. So just search Go Tell It to the Wall, subscribe, and really just watch our videos. You'll be all set if you need to get your YouTube fixed. And there's going to be new content going up for the channel, because especially, I was just telling my wife the other day, I'm like, it's so hard to push to YouTube because a lot of stuff, just about everything that's on YouTube right now is also on Facebook, and it's also on the website. So it's hard to really push people like, oh, you saw this here, you can go see it here now. And it's like, all right, so we got new content coming up there on that same note of YouTube. So, you know, just go there, subscribe. Or subscribe to Give Me Motion or Mary Doodles. I can assure you there will be no questionable content on those channels. Do not subscribe to that Jake Paul kid, because that kid needs to be kicked in the head. We've talked about that previously. If you're new to the podcast, go back and listen a few episodes back, and I'll inform you of the ridiculousness of Jake Paul, and which isn't surprising to me because we put the Orange Menace in the White House, you know, so of course people like this idiot kid, Jake Paul, that really just causes a ruckus and thinks it's funny, and none of his stuff makes sense. Maybe I'm just too old, but you know what? I'm okay with that. I don't want to be a kid thinking that shit's funny. I don't, because it's not funny. All right, a little bit more social here, Wall fans. Here's where we get a little serious. I mean, YouTube is serious. Keep your kids off YouTube. It's kind of funny, you know. But we're gonna get serious here. And the thing that has entertained me the most over the past few days is Christmas at the White House. Christmas at the White House. So the wife of the Orange Menace, I'm not even going to say her name, former nude model, wife of the Orange Menace, I think that's how we'll just refer to her from now on, former nude model, wife of the Orange Menace, decorated the White House for the holidays, for Christmas. Let's call it what it is. They did Christmas decorations. Because in this country, if the White House were to put, you know, a menorah on the front, on the what is that, the West Lawn or the Rose Garden, wherever that is, like, yeah, the South would rise again. They would rise again. I mean, Barack Obama wasn't even able to do that. Can you imagine if the Orange Menace tried to, have a multicultural Christmas decoration at the White House? Oh, God forbid. God forbid, all his alt-right friends would certainly riot. They would certainly riot. So let's call what is its Christmas decorations at the White House. And this is something that I can't really show you because this is a podcast. And even on live feed, I'm not even going to bother showing you this. If you haven't seen it, just Google it. Just Google it. And in fact, I'll give a little love to Bored Panda here because they had some of the best instances of... Because what's happened is they tweeted out some photos from the White House. And I'm going to tell you, for those of you out there that are Stranger Things fans, it looks like upside down Christmas. It's freaking upside down Christmas. It's upside. There are chips and salsa, Jen. Sorry, sometimes the live feed throws me off because I see a funny joke. There are chips and salsa. But what's happened is, if you're familiar with Stranger Things, it looks like Christmas in the upside down. I mean, I'll tell you, if I was walking by this particular hallway that they tweeted a photo of, wouldn't walk down it because it's a little bit Stranger Things. It's also a little bit The Shining. I mean, it's really just out of hand. So I encourage you, if you're interested in this, check out Bored Panda. Just go to Bored Panda and look up the White House Christmas decorations. Wow, they even listed it as Christmas. They're not even trying to pretend that it's like holiday decorations. We don't care about all of your other holidays. We only care about Christmas here. But somehow there's a war on Christmas. The freaking White House has Christmas decorations, but there's a war on Christmas because Starbucks isn't putting Jesus Christ on a Starbucks cup. And on that note, right now, Wall fans, if you're not aware of this, aware of this, and you should be, because I learned this as a kid. If you're not aware of this, we're getting tangented here now, and Bridget's not on the live feed yet, so she can't keep me in line. If you're not aware of this, I'm gonna drop some knowledge on you. You know that whole little saying, Jesus is the reason for the season, and keep Christ in Christmas and all this other stuff. Yeah, you know what historians found out so long ago? Jesus, the Jesus Christ in the Bible, Jesus, was actually born in the spring. He wasn't born in December. Oh, what? What do you mean he wasn't born in December? But we celebrate Christmas in December. You know why we do it? Because many years ago, some marketing person realized that they could do this in conjunction with the winter solstice and then commercialize the shit out of it. So all of you out there that are freaking out, Jesus is the reason for the season. Keep Christ in Christmas. Yeah, maybe take up that mantle in April when we're all going crazy about a bunny rabbit running around giving eggs to kids. Because that's actually when Jesus was born, and that's making a mockery of what Christians think was the crucifixion of Christ. Like it blows my mind. The war on Christmas. No, there is no war on Christmas because Christmas actually shouldn't be a religious holiday. It shouldn't be. It should not be a religious holiday. Catholicism created this Advent season around it. But it shouldn't actually be a religious holiday. Think about that, Wall fans. Think about that. It started as a pagan holiday, the winter solstice. Think about that. Don't even get me started on Halloween. Oh. People trying to we got to throw religion at everything. Everything's got to have religion. Next thing you know, keep Christ in New Year's Eve. Yeah, because Jesus really is concerned about my champagne drinking for a night. Makes sense. All right, let's move along here. But do check out that Bored Panda article. There's some awesome ones. I did enjoy. Someone made a Stranger Things poster out of it, and there's also there's also one with a White Walker in it. So check that out. Bored Panda. Really, you can probably Google it anywhere. But I happen to be looking at the awesome social media response on Bored Panda, and just forget the war on Christmas. Oh boy, yeah, that would actually be the keep. Maybe we do need Jesus in New Year's. We're getting a comment here. Jesus, who did I wake up with? That would be the New Year's. So it's New Year's Day. Keep Jesus in New Year's Day, so that because you kind of wake up the next morning. Jesus, who did I just wake up with? I can proudly say I've never woken up and saying, who did I just wake up? I kept myself. I can't say I kept myself pretty clean in my younger days, but that was one that I avoided. All right. This is one that's been killing me. And it's been killing me for a few days now. And it's the freaking Orange Menace again. It is the freaking Orange Menace. So a couple days ago, he was supposed to have a meeting with some Democrats, some Democratic senators, which I hate because I'm so sick of the Democrat-Republican thing. In fact, I saw an article today, millennials would really love to see a third party. You know what I'd love to see? And I'm not a freaking millennial. I would love to see no parties. No parties. Not a bunch of tools sitting there in Washington, D.C., just following whatever their little party says they should do, even if it means people die. Literally. That's what we're looking at right now with the tax plan. Even if it means people will die, we got to follow the Republican Party because that's what we do. We're Republicans. Get the fuck out of here. You know, just get out of here. I'm so sick of that stuff. So we don't need a third party. We need no parties, or have your stupid little parties, but give respect to people that just have ideas and passion. You know, hashtag have passion, wall fans. And you know what, more importantly, they should have is common frickin' sense. That's what I care about more than a stupid party, Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Green Party, whatever. Whatever. Which brings me to my next point. Because what happened was, the Orange Menace decided to get up that morning, the morning before he was supposed to have that meeting that afternoon, and basically tweeted out, I'm having this meeting today, nothing's going to get done. So the senator said, well, if nothing's going to get done, we're not going to come to the meeting. So essentially the other day, what we saw politics, important politics for this country, policy for this country, playing out on a freaking social media platform. That's what we saw this week. That is exactly what we saw. In addition to that, the Orange Menace proceeded to tweet out questionable videos. Videos that could literally anger entire countries and entire cultures around the world without a care in the world. He just doesn't care. He's sitting there on his gold fucking toilet, taking a shit in the morning and tweeting out bullshit like this. That's what he's doing. That's what he's doing. And he's completely unhinged. I can't take it anymore. The guy's completely unhinged. And he's constantly threatening people. Just threats come out on his Twitter. And he's abusing Twitter. And here's what brings me to my next question, point, whatever you want to call it, with Twitter. Remember a few weeks ago, a month ago, whatever it was, Rose McGowan got suspended from Twitter for doing some questionable things on Twitter. And everyone went crazy on Twitter and said, we're going to boycott Twitter. We're going to boycott Twitter for a day. We're going to boycott, and no one's going to get on Twitter for a day. Well, I have two questions right now. Question number one is to Twitter. The Orange Menace has clearly violated your terms and conditions many times over and has still not been suspended. And we know that's because you want the clicks on your stupid little app and your stupid little website, so you're going to let the guy just be completely unhinged on your social media platform because you want the clicks, you want the follows, you want all this other stuff. Whatever. My next question is, we all freaked out and everyone went crazy because Rose McGowan was suspended for a little while from Twitter, which is, I completely agree. We should boycott. When you want things to happen, that's what you do. You protest and you boycott. My question is, when are we going to boycott Twitter until they remove the Orange Menace? When is that going to happen? Because that's what I'm waiting for. I don't need the president, finger quotes, of the United States of America working through policy and politics on a social media platform. Completely unacceptable. That is completely unacceptable. And if you think that's acceptable, you're either 22 years old or you need to check yourself. Because it's not. It's just not acceptable. The Orange Menace as a whole is not acceptable, but unfortunately we got to live with this idiot until he starts the next nuclear war and we're all freaking dead. We're all just going to be dead. All right, there's a little ranting on the social side. So let's get into a little TV, film, and books. Jen, are you oohing the boycott of Twitter until they get rid of the Orange Menace? Because I feel like you could also help. You and I should get the ball rolling on that. Because I feel like you could get a big push on that. I'm talking with the live feed, which happens from time to time. If you're only listening on the podcast, just bear with us as we're doing that, because sometimes good content comes through. More importantly, Bridget gets on there to keep me in line, and Chris gets on there to feed me facts. Also keep me in line, but to also feed me facts. Oh, you know what? Before I get into TV, film, books coming up next. Before I get into that, let's give a little shout out to the beer this week. I've got a nice little tasty brew from Golden Road Brewing Company, and it would be the Wolf Among Weeds IPA. Wolf Among Weeds IPA. I'm showing it to the live feed there. If you're an IPA fan and you haven't had this one, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. It is a true, just like, it's almost like a double IPA. there's a lot of those that come out. It's got that kind of flavor. It's definitely a little stronger. It's an 8%. It's an 8%. So Jen is going to help me push for the boycott of Twitter until we get rid of Orange Menace. But it's an 8% IPA, so do be careful, because it's on the stronger side of the IPAs. It's not up there like the 9s and some of those other ones, but it is very tasty, and especially if you live in Southern California. I'm not sure. I wish. My cousin was on a little while ago, who's a beer buyer in the Midwest. I don't know if Golden Road has made its way kind of out of California just yet. And apologies to all of you that follow and try to get the beer. I didn't have time this week to post what beer we were having. But nonetheless, check it out, Wolf Among Weeds IPA. It really, if you're an IPA fan, if you're not an IPA fan, you're not going to like it. It's a little strong, and it is a bit of a nod to Los Angeles. Golden Road is a Los Angeles brewery. They were bought a couple of years ago, but they are still keeping things local as well. So I like to support Golden Road, and I thoroughly enjoy the Wolf Among Weeds IPA. So check it out if you're an IPA fan. I'm enjoying it. Just be aware it's a little strong. As you can tell, we're getting a little tangented through the entirety of this episode. Oh, but it's a nice beer. It's a tasty one. All right, let's get into a little TV film books. I basically have TV this week with a little bit of film. And let's get into a little bit of film. There's been some sometimes my lips move faster than my head. This is a problem I've had since I was a kid. Used to get me in trouble. Still gets me in trouble. However, a week or two ago, a little film called Coco came out from the Walt Disney Company. I'm not going to get into my feelings about it because I know a lot of people of Latin descent, specifically Mexican descent, because I believe it's really geared Mexican, not just overall Latin, Hispanic cultures, have really been very proud of the movie, been very happy with it and everything else. So I'm not going to get into how I feel about the mouse really raping cultures from all over the place and then monetizing them. We'll leave that alone for now because I've talked about that in the past and how the mouse just loves to steal cultures and monetize it, because really that's the ridiculous thing too. This is a spiritual religious thing and they're monetizing it. Like, think about that. And people don't remember that a few years ago, when Disney was kind of in process to work on a Day of the Dead movie, they actually tried to patent, I kid you not, Wall fans, they actually tried to copyright Dia de los Muertos. They tried to copyright a cultural symbol, Dia de los Muertos. Now, they got some backlash because it was like, dude, you cannot copyright a culture. It doesn't work that way. I'm sure many people have tried, and of course the mouse tried, but you're not able to do it. So I respect everyone that loves seeing their culture in this film. I'm not going to speak on that. I don't appreciate the mouse stealing culture and monetizing it. I don't care what culture it is. I don't. If they're going to put out a St. Patrick's Day movie, then you're going to hear from me a little bit. You're going to hear from me a little bit. You're going to hear. But putting that aside, there was a little bit of outrage when Coco came out. I believe it came out a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago. Someone on the live feed helped me out. Chris probably knows right offhand. He's in the biz. A week or two ago it came out, and it's a Pixar film. And if you're familiar with Pixar films, they used to, and they still kind of do, but they used to be really just innovative. They did these Pixar shorts before Pixar films. Well, for Coco, they kind of did a Pixar short. It's an animated short. And it's a Frozen holiday short. Finger quotes are coming out because what I've been reading is it's about 22 minutes long, which is not a short. I guess you can consider that's not a short, especially when you're going to an animated film, most likely with kids. Now I'm getting it. So St. Patrick's Day movie is automatically Drunk Princess. I wish I had to come back to that, but you were probably 100% right. And there's my buddy Matt joining. He's going to have some fun with that as well. One of my Irish brethren. So anyway, this short that came out that played in front of Coco, 22 minutes long. It's a Frozen short with Olaf, the snowman from the original Frozen movie. If you're not familiar with it, if you have kids, I recommend watching it. If you don't have kids, don't waste your time. The music is really terrible, and the film is really just not that great. The only thing great about it is it's not all about a princess trying to find, love. It's a heroic princess as opposed to like, oh, I'm all about trying to find Prince Charming, which I do really appreciate. and there's been other ones like that just don't get the same respect. But what's ridiculous about this is the backlash has just been off the charts. Nobody has liked this Frozen. Thank you. November 22nd was Coco. Chris, that's who feeds me facts, and who keeps me in line is Chris. November 22nd, Coco came out. Which was a couple weeks ago. So it is like a week ago. That's what happened. I got a 1-year-old at home. I got stuff going on in the studio all the time. I can't keep track of things. However, like I said, huge outrage from this. Because no one wants to go in when they're going to see a movie and see a 22-minute short in front of that movie. Especially when it's really coming out that this was pretty much a blatant cash grab. What a surprise, a blatant cash grab from the Walt Disney Company. Oh my God, to try and sell Christmas gifts, try and sell product for Frozen, and most of us out there are smart enough to see through this. If you're not smart enough, I'm going to tell you, this is what you need to see through right now, because everything Disney does, it revolves around sales of product. Sales of product and tickets to their park, as much as which is fine, but if we all need to be aware of that and not be brainwashed, The porgies. Goddamn porgies. I'm going to start seeing those freaking things all over the place. I'm sure someone's going to send me one for Christmas because I can't stand these stupid porgy things. I'm just kidding. It's just a blatant cash grab. I always joke about it. I'm like, I don't know, porgies. I don't care. It's a blatant cash grab, and it's a double standard. It's a double standard. Ewoks are so terrible, but these stupid fake little penguins, oh God, those are great. What's the freaking difference? What's the freaking difference? Peddling magic. They do peddle a lot of magic. Matt, I can't disagree with you on that one. All right, moving along. Stranger Things 2. That's right. I told everyone a couple weeks ago, I was like, stop spoiling Stranger Things 2. I haven't had a chance to watch it. I got a daughter at home. My wife and I just last night finished up the 9th episode of Stranger Things 2. I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm not going to sit here and spoil things for everyone that hasn't seen it. If you shave an Ewok, that's true. You know what? I'll tell you, I will appreciate the porgies if we go to find out that they are just shaved down Ewoks. I'm kind of down with that. Stranger Things 2, anyway. Got through episode 9, and I'm not going to spoil anything, like I said. And I enjoyed it. I really liked it, and I'm enjoying Stranger Things. I'm enjoying kind of the character development and everything else. There's one thing that I finished episode 9, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I enjoy this, and I get it. I don't see it as like groundbreaking. Everyone is obsessed with it, and it's like, no, it's very good. It moves very, very slow, very, very slow, and especially in comparison to my current favorite show, which is Mr. Robot, like so slow the thing's moving, which is fine. I enjoy it. And maybe it's just me, because I get the nostalgia and everything else, and and I get that, and I enjoy the nostalgia and everything else. And I think it's good. I just don't think it's as good as kind of everyone's saying it is. I think it's a little bit overrated. Not to say it's bad and it's overrated. I can't get behind it and say this is like the greatest show ever. No, it's good. It's good. But I've seen better shows. That being said, I'll watch Stranger Things 3 when it comes out. But that was the other thing. Was my wife turned to me and she's like, because I don't want to spoil anything, but we're watching the last episode, and she's like, what's going to happen? And then she's like, without spoiling anything, she's like, they can't just continue to do that season. And this didn't happen. But what she was talking about, she's like, they can't just do that it's going to get stale. And I was like, it's already getting a little stale. So, go watch it. I recommend it. I don't get the ridiculous hype over it. But I will tell you one thing, after watching Stranger Things 2, as opposed to the first season, my absolute favorite character on the show is Steve. I think Steve is a super, super underrated character on that show, and I'm thoroughly enjoying him. He kind of came off as a douche in season 1, and then gradually kind of became better and better and better, and without spoiling anything, that kind of continues in season 2, which I don't even think I'm spoiling anything, because it's funny, I was seeing like articles and photos and memes and stuff, and even the the pop things, the big head things. Chris, help me out. The big head pop things that they make like movie characters and stuff. There was a set of those that was Steve and another character from Stranger Things, and I was like, why is there a set? And then that's why they made a set. Okay, so it's hard not to see some of the spoilers, just like Walking Dead. That's forever going to be remembered on this show as the one time that his hair is epic. I can't disagree with that. Funko, thank you, Funko. The Funko, those Funko figures. But it's forever. Walking Dead will be my shame for spoiling something that really, from a show that I don't even watch, but somehow I managed to spoil to some of the Wall fans out there. Yeah, it happens. Moving along, we got more TV. Well, so much TV this week. So I found a new show, which is somewhat new to me, and somewhat new overall. And it's a new Hulu original series called Future Man. Future Man. And this is from the ridiculously raunchy minds of Seth Rogen and Goldberg. Evan Goldberg. There's so many Goldbergs in Hollywood, and I really don't mean that as like a slight or joke. It's just like I confuse them. But you have Adam Goldberg and Adam F. Goldberg, and you have one of Will Ferrell's partners is a Gold, but it's Evan Goldberg, who's worked with Seth Rogen on many things in the past. I think he worked on This Is It with him, which makes sense, because this is truly a, and Bill Goldberg's a wrestler, truly a raunchy Hulu original. And if you're into raunchy comedy, I highly recommend it. It stars Josh Hutcherson. It also has Eliza Coupe, who was on a fantastic ABC show called Happy Endings. I very much enjoyed her on that show. She's very good in Future Man. It's also got some awesome guest appearances, including who I do this every time. I blank on his damn name. He is one of my favorite character actors of all time, and he's the glasses-wearing kid from Freaks and Geeks. Somebody's going to help me out on that one as well. He makes a little appearance in it. So it's awesome. I recommend it, but I will warn you, it is very raunchy. It's definitely not something to watch with your kids. And my wife, who's a big Seth Rogen fan, actually lived next door to Evan Goldberg many years ago before they were all huge. And she was like, yeah, we'll watch it. And we got halfway through the first episode, and then we kind of turned it off, I think, to go to bed or something. And later that night, she was like, yeah, you can go ahead and watch that one without me. You know, we had, like, my wife and I have shows we watch together, and then we have shows that, like, I don't need to watch it with you. Like, she's probably out watching one of those dancing shows right now while I'm here in the studio, because that's what she does, because I don't really care to watch the dancing shows. But she was like, you can go ahead and watch that one. And sure enough, it just continued to get raunchier. Without spoiling anything, I will give you fair warning. There's a lot of male full frontal nudity, very prosthetic nudity, but nudity nonetheless. Which brings me to my the extra weird kind of screwing with me, with my mind, was Josh Hutcherson, who's the star of this Hulu original series, who's actually was a child star, and he's still very young. And if you're not familiar with Josh Hutcherson, he was in Hunger Games. He's not Thor's brother. He's the other main guy in Hunger Games, the smaller one. And I don't mean to say he's small. I just mean like Thor's brother, and the actor who plays Thor. His brother is rather large, beefy individual. But I actually crossed paths with Josh Hutcherson many years ago when I was working at Disney, specifically at Radio Disney. He was in a little movie called Firehouse Dog, a non-theatrical. I always still say direct-to-video, but I try not to. Non-theatrical movie called Firehouse Dog. And he came in the studio, and we did an interview. I didn't actually interview him. I ran the interview from the studio for one of the hosts that was actually interviewing him from another freaking state and city, and got to know him and his father when he was very young. So it was extra fun. Like, Hunger Games was one thing, but it was extra weird and funny to see this guy that I knew as a little kid starring in a very kid movie. Not Hunger Games, it's Firehouse Dog, and some other. He was in many other things as a kid before Hunger Games, and then to see him in this extremely raunchy comedy on Hulu. It's just, it was one of those weird kind of messing with my mind type things to see this, you know, which I'm sure many people deal with just all the time when you knew someone as a kid and then they grew up to, you know, I mean, let's think about it. Like, you know, somebody knew Kevin Smith as a kid. That's, you know, it's a fart and stoner jokes. Someone knew Seth Rogen as a kid, or James Franco. These guys putting out these ridiculous, or what was that guy's name? Blanking on it now. The guy from Freddy Got Fingered that was like popular for a couple years there in the 90s. Super gross. One thing I failed to talk about, I think the past 2 weeks, and that would be Mr. Robot. I didn't fail to talk about Mr. Robot because I'm obsessed with it and I've talked about it many times. but I did not mention that they are going, I mentioned it a little bit, but they have continued to go all in on the Orange Menace. Really just kind of backdoor insults throughout. Tom Green, thank you, Jen. And Laura, thank you. Tom Green was the gross one. I think he's Canadian. But somebody knew that guy's a kid. Anyway, Mr. Robot, they're going all in on the Orange Menace to the point where there was a scene 2 episodes ago where a couple guys are at the Mar-a-Lago Resort. And it's extra crazy because the timeline, and this isn't spoiling anything in Mr. Robot, like you can go watch Mr. Robot, it doesn't matter. The timeline of Mr. Robot, it's actually still 2015. Barack Obama in Mr. Robot, right now, in Mr. Robot, Barack Obama is still president in the timeline. So I am so eager to see how much further they're going to go with just going all in on the Orange Menace. And it's amazing. And I have a feeling it's going to create some conspiracy theories as well, which I'm okay with because I think conspiracy theories are hilarious until they become hurtful to people, like victims of mass shootings and stuff like that. Like, that I'm not down with those conspiracies. I'm really not down with any of them. I think it's funny when it's the other conspiracy theories, like ridiculous stuff, like what this would be, oh my God, the Chinese government put the Orange Menace into power. That's actually not something I should joke about right now because that might have been what Russia was doing. But on the show, it's, the conspiracy theorists will come out on content from the show. It'll be interesting. All right, one more thing that I put into, I left this in the TV, film, and books section. It really could have gone really in multiple sections, including common sense. And I'm not going to get into more of the net neutrality stuff, but I do want to point this out. So Comcast, about a week or 2 ago, when all the net neutrality stuff was really hitting the fan, all of it was hitting the fan, they came out and they said, we will never throttle, we will never slow down speeds to any particular sites or apps or any of that stuff. But they were supporting the end of net neutrality. They wanted to get rid of net neutrality despite the fact that they were promising to not do those things. Well, since that came out, FCC came out and they said they are going to end net neutrality in the spring. And once the FCC announced that, Comcast came out and they backtracked they completely deleted their posts and backtracked on saying that they're not going to throttle, they're not going to slow down speeds, and they're not going to charge for certain sites. Backtracking on it. And without getting into too much detail, I encourage all of you out there that are concerned about net neutrality, and if you're not concerned about net neutrality, you should be, unless you don't use the internet. But if you don't use the internet, you're not seeing this, you're not hearing this, you're not getting any of this shit. So if you're seeing this, hearing this, doing any of this, interacting with me, with the podcast, you should be freaking concerned about net neutrality ending because it shouldn't end, and it hopefully won't end. There's going to be riots in the streets, but we'll see what happens. It's just interesting that these, of course, the big companies, the big corporations, the big cable companies, oh, no, we're not going to do anything. Oh, we're going to be able to do stuff? Oh, no, yeah, no. Backtracking. Every freaking time. Every time. All right, let's move on to some music. I have a little bit of a shout out here. I have 2 shout outs. I have a shout out here. And this is a weird one because I am still grappling with this. Now, I'm not really grappling with it morally or anything else, but I mentioned this at the end of the episode a couple weeks ago because of all the stuff that's coming out with molestation, Roy Moore in Alabama, sexual harassment, Orange Menace, Matt Lauer, Harvey Weinstein, everybody, Charlie Rose, Jesus, the list goes on and on. Russell freaking Simmons, he called him out last week for being an asshole, and sure enough, he was even more of an asshole than we thought. What a surprise. Rich guys being assholes. What a surprise. But I did mention at the end of one of more recent episodes, the great musician Michael Jackson. We're removing Harvey Weinstein's name from all these credits and everything else, and removing all these people from everything else. But we haven't removed Michael Jackson from all his stuff. Again, I'm not sitting here and saying we should, but I do just want to point out that today, November 30th, 2017, is actually the 35th anniversary of still to this day the #1 selling album of all time, and that would be Michael Jackson's Thriller, which is a fantastic album. And full disclosure to all of you out there, I was listening to a little bit of Michael Jackson before I got in the studio this evening. Man in the Mirror helps me prepare and focus, and that's just That's true. He wasn't guilty, but Jen here, and I'm getting this on the live feed, which I can get behind. But we don't know that any of these other people are guilty just yet either. That's my point. That's my point. That's my point. We don't know that any of these other people are guilty. We don't know. We think he wasn't guilty, but he might have been guilty. You know, we don't have any proof on that. And as much as many of us that have been in the industry for a long time have known that Harvey Weinstein was a creep. Not to the extent that we have now found out that John Lasseter was a creep. You know, we knew these things, but we still don't know the extent. You know, so that would be the difference. I'm not going to sit here and say that we should remove Michael Jackson from things, but it's something to think about. It's again a little bit of another double standard. You know, but I do want to give the shout out in respect to the number one selling album still to this day of all time is Thriller, and it's a fantastic album. Another thing on music, this is another one that I can't show to all of you on the live feed, or especially if you're only listening on the podcast, but I encourage you to check this out. Maybe we'll get this one posted to the Facebook page. Of course, if you're new to the podcast, you may not be aware, but if you've been listening for a long time, you know that I have a little bit of obsession with punk rock, and especially Southern California punk rock, and especially a little band called Blink-182, among others. Well, the great DJ Steve Aoki had a birthday party a little less than a week ago. And of course, Travis and Mark are good friends with Steve Aoki. They have been for a long time. I imagine Matt Skiba is as well, because he's running those circles as well. So of course, they were at his birthday party. Well, they decided to do an impromptu performance of What's My Age Again? And that video is floating around on the internet, so if you are a crappy punk rock fan like myself, a Southern California punk rock fan like myself, check it out. It is very enjoyable, and I am thoroughly jealous of Steve Aoki for having those guys just in his house. I assume it was his house. I'm not sure if it was his house. It looks like a big mansion. I assume it's Aoki's house. But to have them in his house playing What's My Age Again for his birthday, which personally, nowhere near my favorite Blink-182 song. It is kind of their better known song because it made them blow up in they made them blow up in 1999. I mean, the MTV, TRL, and all this other stuff. So it's not my favorite, but I get, and especially I've talked about Sombrero on the Sombrero is still there, actually, Matt. I've talked about Sombrero as well on the podcast. But What's My Age Again? I'm sure they did it because it was a birthday party. I don't know, personally, I don't know what my favorite Blink-182 song, I'll put it out there right now, it's Eminem's. It's Eminem's. If you grew up in San Diego in the 80s, 90s, it came out in the 90s, Eminem's is probably your favorite song. It was the first single that came out on 91X in San Diego. But I'm a little jealous. What's my age again? And one more thing on music. I have another big announcement. If you may already know, if you're following them on the social platforms and all the good stuff, and that would be the great band Give Me Motion. Give Me Motion, they have another tour coming up, not their own tour. This is not the Give Me Motion tour like we had months and months ago that I kept talking about every week and giving you dates that were happening that particular weekend and all that good stuff. But Give Me Motion is going on tour with a couple of other performing acts. He's going to be opening for a couple other acts. Why does that sound like acts? A couple other musical acts. I can't pronounce that correctly. And they're going to be touring around the country, really not every city. And maybe we'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and share the tour schedule on the Facebook page. Jen, I get it with Michael Jackson. I get it. I'm not going to debate Michael Jackson right now. But it is something to consider with Michael Jackson and his past. So what we'll do is we'll share those tour dates on the Facebook page, maybe on the Twitter, maybe on the website, whatever it might be. But if you're interested, before we get those up, just look up Give Me Motion, givememotion.com on Facebook and all those other things. I know they're going to Austin. I know they're going to Houston. And there's a bunch of others that I can't remember offhand. I didn't write them all down. We'll go ahead and post it so you guys can catch up with Give Me Motion. I highly, highly, highly recommend checking out Give Me Motion. And I can't remember the other acts that he's playing with, but they are also very good acts. So check that out. All right, we're going to move into a little bit of sports. Sports this week is interesting, very interesting, because I don't really have sports. But I put it into sports because it has to do with sports. I mentioned at the top of the show, this week is Jimmy V week. Jimmy V, which is short for Jimmy Valvano. He passed away from cancer in the 80s. Chris, this one, you got to help me on that one. No, 90. He passed away from cancer. And he was the amazing coach of UNLV, University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Took them to the national championship and won the national championship. Incredible coach. Incredible. Why is my thing not scrolling? An incredible coach and incredibly well respected within his field. And he unfortunately was diagnosed with cancer many years ago. And there's an award show that ESPN does called the ESPYs. And now it's a sports awards show, but they do give awards that aren't strictly sports based. They award an Arthur Ashe Award at the ESPYs. They also award the Jimmy V Perseverance Award. And there was a time when Jimmy V was going through cancer treatments, actually not long before he passed away, that he was at the ESPYs receiving an award. And this is what I'm getting to. Roundabout way of getting to it is I encourage all of you, it has to do with sports, but not. It's not all about sports. Do a little YouTubing and just look up Jimmy V ESPY speech. I don't just encourage you, I don't implore you. Any of you out there listening, if you have not seen this speech, go watch it on YouTube. And because of that, they created the Jimmy V Foundation for Cancer Research. Now, we talk about charities on this podcast quite a bit and kind of their shady doings and where that money goes. I can assure you the Jimmy V Foundation for Cancer Research is a good one. If you care about cancer research, give to the Jimmy V Foundation. And then there's another one, Stuart Scott, who was a sportscaster with ESPN just a few years ago, received the Jimmy V Award, and then again passed away a few months later. I encourage you also to look at his speech and understand the effect that cancer has on people, on families, and really what these men in particular went through, but really what many men and women have to go through daily, just all around the world. In our country, in our neighborhoods, in our families. So I encourage you to check those out. And if you cry a little bit, it's okay. It's okay. Because I watch the damn thing at least once a year around this time of year, and I get a little teary every damn time. All right, one more thing with sports. I'm not even going to get into the details on this stuff. Man, we're running out of time. We're not even going to get to tech. I'm saving all the tech for next week. And one more thing, this weekend in the NFL is Cleats for a Cause this weekend. So again, I'm not telling you to go out and watch some football and all that good stuff, but just do a little Googling. We'll share some of these. It's hard to find a really just comprehensive list of all the different cleats, but if you're not familiar with Cleats for a Cause, all the players in the NFL this weekend are given the opportunity to kind of go crazy. There's uniform requirements within the NFL. They're given the liberty to go a little bit crazy. And have decorated cleats, which end up being very artistic. They have artists that come in and they decorate these cleats. But what they do is it's called Cleats for a Cause because all of the decorations on any of these cleats revolve around a charity or foundation or any, like, whatever it might be. It's all in support of something. For example, Brian Hoyer, his cleats are going to be in support of the ASPCA. So he's helping to raise money for the ASPCA, among many others. So check them out. Really, it's twofold. Not only because they're raising money for good causes this weekend, but also because the cleats are really cool. They get great artists to paint on these cleats or do what I assume paint. I don't know. They make the cleats look cool. I am not an artist. I paint with my voice. If my Inktober would be smiley faces. I almost thought about doing that. But check those out. Especially with all the bad stuff that's been going on in the NFL. This is kind of one weekend where we can just look at all of the players going out there in support of good causes. Why is this not scrolling on me? Thank you. 1993, Jimmy V died. Thank you. My Facebook Live is not scrolling on me now. I don't know what's happening. Facebook changes something every freaking week. I had like new buttons this week. Every week I come in here. I've got a little bit of style this week. And I'm just going to do it real quick. So I got myself some new Vans for my birthday. My wife hooked up some Vans for me for my birthday, as well as for my daughter for my birthday. So we went out on Black Friday, but we went to the Vans store, which is a freestanding Vans store here in Los Angeles, so I didn't have to deal with malls and stuff. And I got myself my wife got me a pair of the special edition Peanuts Vans that just came out. And the Vans with the comic strips going across them. And then, of course, because my daughter needs to be brought up right with Vans and have some Vans to match her father, she's got her own Peanuts comic strip Vans. So we'll probably share some photos of those. I will warn everyone out there, because I already had some friends like bugging me about, when are we going to get photos of you wearing them? We've got like a year or two, because we bought them a little too big. We've got like a year until she's actually able to wear them. All right, let me get through some of this. I'm going to do a little bit of tech because I've got some common sense that I want to talk a little bit about. Yes. So we're going to skip some of the tech, save for next week. One thing, let's fly through this. Let's see if we can do this like fast track style. All right. Google Play Music just came out with an announcement. If you were an Android user and you use Google Play Music on your Android phone, you know that they have this ridiculous feature where if you swipe on a song, it deletes. I thought it was just me that was constantly deleting my songs all the time, but apparently not, and people were in a bit of an uproar over it, and Google Play Music will be getting rid of the swipe to delete, which is good. Now, I always quick to hit the undo because it gives you the undo option underneath that, but who knows how many songs I've deleted over the few years that I've had an Android phone. Save. Oh, I'm going to tell you, this is an important one right now. Right now, if you're in the market for a new portable hard drive, portable hard drive, I use a few of them. I back up all the podcast stuff, I back up all my photos, not only to a central server here, but also to multiple hard drives. Unfortunately, none of my external hard drives are SSD. If you're not familiar with SSD, it is solid state drive. Right now, go to SanDisk.com. They actually have their portable SSDs on sale, and I looked at it today. 500 gigabyte SSD from SanDisk, portable SSD hard drive, $150. $150. It's actually cheaper prices than they even had on Black Friday. So check that out. I'm not going to get into details of an SSD, but if you do a lot of transfers and you do a lot of hard drive stuff, you want an SSD. I've got one on my computer. It is worlds better than the traditional hard drive. I also found, we're going to save that. I got so much tech, we're going to save it for next week. But let's get into a little bit of common sense here. I've got two common sense things that I saved from last week. And in fact, I'm going to get a little sip of my Golden Road Brewing Wolf Among Weeds IPA. All right. A little common sense to lay on you here. I read an article last week that really got me incredibly heated, and you're going to find out why. There's a new painkiller that was just developed by whatever drug maker developed this drug. And it is a painkiller to help prevent overdoses from opioids, because we have an opioid epidemic in this country and really around the world with people overdosing because they're pumping them full of freaking opioids. Well, you know what they developed to combat overdoses from opioids? Another fucking opioid. That's what they did. So, people are overdosing on opioids. What should we do? Oh, let's develop another opioid where they overdose less. Hey, drug makers and developers and all this other stuff. Let me let you in on a little secret. Let me let you in on a little secret. We got this little thing in California and in some other states around the country. It's called medical marijuana. You know what's beautiful about it? Nobody overdoses. It's non-addictive. Kills pain. There have been multiple studies that it has helped with many, many, many other physical ailments. But what do we do in this world and in this country? We're going to put that marijuana to the side because we don't know how to make money off the marijuana yet. We don't know how our drug companies can get rich off marijuana. So we're going to create another opioid to combat the opioid crisis. That's my hand hitting my forehead, wall fans. Because I'm done. I'm done with this one. It's like, what? Really? This is your answer. Let's open our eyes. Let's open our eyes. It's the country we live in, though. All right, this is actually a carryover from last week that I didn't have time to get into, and I found this nice little article on Slate.com talking about how they should ban men's bathrobes. Ban men's bathrobes? That seems silly. I got a bathrobe in my bedroom right now. It's an awesome Deadpool hooded bathrobe. Here's the thing. Here's why they want to ban bathrobes. Because there's some stories that came out about Charlie Rose and Harvey Weinstein about how they had people in their rooms or in their houses and then they were wearing robes. And maybe let those robes open because they weren't wearing anything underneath them. I thought this Slate.com article was a joke. It's not. They are dead serious that men shouldn't wear bathrobes. Okay. So I can't have my Deadpool bathrobe that I like, that I get out of the shower and put on and go to my bedroom and get dressed? I can't have that? No, that doesn't make sense. Think about it, Wall fans. You know what does make sense? Maybe don't ban men's bathrobes. Maybe don't wear freaking robes in front of guests. Don't have guests over at your house and wear a freaking bathrobe. I have a bathrobe. I wear a bathrobe. I don't invite people over and then go sit and have drinks in my living room wearing my freaking bathrobe with nothing underneath. I don't do it. I don't do it. I'm usually wearing my bathrobe when my wife's home, my daughter's in her room, or whatever else. I use it like that's what it's for. But we got to ban men's bathrobes. Huh. The war on bathrobes. War on bathrobes. Which I get. I think we should ban creepy guys from wearing bathrobes in front of people they're trying to sexually harass. But we don't need to ban all bathrobes. All right, I'm going to save some more of this common sense. I'm going to save that. I'm going to go through. I got one. All right. Speaking of legal marijuana. Legal marijuana. Big announcement came out today. Huge announcement. I actually almost texted one of my friends who lives in Colorado now. He's from California, and he's obsessed with it. But I knew I'd be like the 50th person that was telling him because I was a little bit late to the game. In-N-Out is expanding to another state. Oh my gosh. Hashtag not all bathrobes. We just found a new podcast hashtag. My thing's not scrolling. I wonder if I scroll. Oh my gosh, there we go. Okay. Hashtag not all bathrobes. I like that. Apologies to those of you watching on the live feed. It was not scrolling on me, but I'll catch up on. We'll be in contact later. But In-N-Out is moving to another state, and that would be the great state of Colorado. Very Christian company, which has nothing to do with this. It's just funny because I'm hoping that their board of directors or whatever was sitting in a conference room and they were saying, well, we're going to expand to another state. What do you guys think? I don't know. What do you think would be a good state? Well, it's got to kind of be west. What's that state that just made marijuana completely recreationally legal? Colorado. Oh, who loves In-N-Out? Stoners. Beautiful. Move it to Colorado. Brilliant idea. I'm a big In-N-Out fan myself. I don't know if it's because I'm from California. I don't even get into debates. Everyone's like, I have relatives and friends from Jen, you're on there, from Texas. Whataburger is so much better than In-N-Out. It's like, I don't know. Personally, I prefer In-N-Out, but that's just me. Like, I don't think Whataburger's crap. I don't. I mean, there's some crap out there. I also like White Castle. Like, White Castle is crap. You've never had White Castle? It is crap. But I like it because I grew up with it. All right, we're going to save some more of that common sense for next week because we're actually going over time already. But I am saving that not all bathrobes. Hashtag not all bathrobes. God, I used to hate hashtags, but once we started doing a freaking podcast, it had to be hashtag this, hashtag that, hashtag this, and especially hashtag common sense and hashtag... Oh, see, now, I got another Texan on here. I probably got more Texans on here than I do... I'm getting trash talking from Whataburger fans. I actually don't dislike Whataburger. I just prefer In-N-Out to it. But I think it really comes down to what you grew up with. It's the Chicago pizza versus New York pizza debate. Chicago, hands down for me. Chris is on here. He's probably going to say New York because he grew up in Northeast. Anyway, it's the same thing. But In-N-Out's moving to Colorado. So stoners, you're welcome. Enjoy your In-N-Out in Colorado. And I know there's a lot of California transplants that are going to be enjoying that as well. All right, I want to get into one more common sense thing, and this is something that happened yesterday, and I had to stop my wife from throwing this away. And this is me ranting a little bit Because you know what? I've talked about this on the podcast before, many times. I've talked about this on the podcast, and that is junk mail, the mail that you get. The other day, I went to get my, Jen just likes it because, you just like Whataburger because it looks like Wonder Woman. Yeah. And Chris is saying New York pizza. I know, I get in a debate with my father. My father's from Boston, my mother's from Chicago. And, I spent more time in Chicago. My father, same thing, New York. But anyway, we've talked about junk mail. In fact, the other day, I went to check my mail, and my mailbox was full, and I bring it up to my front porch, and what I do is I've said this before on the podcast, I sort through my mail so that junk mail doesn't even make it inside my house. I'm sorting through this mail. Big pile of mail. I didn't bring a single thing into the house. Not a single thing. It was entirely junk mail. Well, yesterday, as I'm sorting through mail, I got something like this. And what makes me mad about this, junk mail is one thing, where you're wasting paper and all this other stuff. And I'm telling you right now, there's a person running for the assembly or something in Los Angeles, Wendy Carrillo. You're not getting my vote. I don't even know what party you're in. I don't know where you stand on anything. But the thing is, I get literally 3 big cardboard things from her a day saying, vote for me. The one thing I do know about her is she's running on an environmental platform. How many trees did you kill for your stupid campaign? Don't call yourself an environmentalist. Don't call yourself an environmentalist. Anyway, my point with this one is you do get important stuff in the mail. That's why you have to sort through the mail, get rid of the junk mail, and pull your important stuff out. Usually, and it used to be, you could get through that pretty easily because you're like, well, here's a bunch of mailers, here's coupons. I pull that big stack of the coupons, I look at it, throw it away, go straight in the trash. But what they're doing now is making advertisements look important. And I'm holding it up, for those of you that are only listening to the podcast, I'm holding it up for the live feed. I want to show you something I got from Spectrum yesterday. This came in my mail from Spectrum yesterday. Now, I have Spectrum for internet. They're probably going to cut me off. Just kidding, they're not going to cut me off. I have Spectrum for internet. But the thing that got me about this is, in the open space on the envelope, there is probably a, what do you call it, 1.5 by 1 inch rectangle, solid red rectangle. On it in white letters, it says, official, open immediately. Official, open immediately. So I opened the damn thing. Those of you watching on the Facebook live feed, it's an advertisement asking me to sign up for television. Official, open immediately, to sign up for television. Fucking cable television. Official, open immediately. Get the hell out of here, Spectrum. This almost made me want to change my internet. And you know what else is ridiculous? Which I get, which is fine with me. I have no problem with the fact that they do this because I live in a very Latin area of Los Angeles in Highland Park. However, my Spanish is not very good. My wife knows Spanish whatsoever. And not only did they send me something that says official in a big red box, but they sent me something that I can barely read because it's in Spanish. Now, I grew up in San Diego, I grew up in Southern California, I took Spanish in high school. I have many friends that speak fluent Spanish. I really can read it. But for the most part, why is this being sent to me? Why is this being sent to me? And it's one thing, I don't mind getting this, but you know what? This should be, well, yeah, that's Ricky, your last name's to me. See, my last name is O'Rourke. That's the thing. And my wife's last name is O'Rourke. Really? Looking at O'Rourke, and I mean, if they sent this in Gaelic, I might be like, all right, I get it. Okay, that's O'Rourke. No. Ricky Dominguez is on here. He gets his in Spanish. Dominguez, you know, I kind of get it. And especially, and I do get it, I do get it because, like I said, I live in a very Latin area of Los Angeles. So that part doesn't get me as much. What gets me is the big red letters that say official, open immediately. And that shouldn't be allowed. That should not, it literally just, we have standards when it comes to marketing and when it comes to pushing out product and all this other stuff. In fact, on social media, stars and influencers that are being paid by sponsors have to stipulate that on any kind of post. But Spectrum can send me mail that looks threatening or extremely important, and it's just a freaking advertisement. I can't do it anymore, Wall fans. The junk mail, it kills me. The junk mail And yeah, it's Spectrum. Bree, you must have jumped on. It's Spectrum. Do you get those too, Bree? Which again, I have some internet, and I will never have cable television unless someone knocks on my door and says, "Hey, we got cable television for you for free." I'm never gonna have cable television. I'm just not gonna have it. I don't need it. I don't need it. I can't even get through. I couldn't even get through freaking Stranger Things until like last night. What do I need cable for? What do I need cable for? I don't. I don't need cable. I enjoy my sports, and I watch those on network channels. Or ESPN app, or Fox Sports app. Like, I don't need cable. So Spectrum, please stop sending me junk mail that makes me open it immediately. Now, I know I'm being a little ridiculous, but these are the little things. You know, it's the same thing that I've talked about before with junk mail and how, like, you can't have a shopping bag at the grocery store because it's not environmentally friendly. It's a waste of resources. It's a waste of resources. I can get behind that. But if we're going to do that, let's do it. And let's stop sending out as junk mail, which is honestly using more resources and wasting more money. More money. I know it's funny. See, it's funny. People that have Spectrum on here are like, yeah, we only have the internet, and they call us all the time for TV. They actually, my wife got a phone call like a day or two ago, and she felt bad and was like, and just let the guy talk for a few minutes, and she was like, well, so what you're offering me going to be the same price or less than what I'm paying now? And she said there was like a 1 minute pause, and he's like, well, no. And she's like, well, I'm not interested. It's like, that's basically my answer to it. Like, I'm not interested. No, I don't need this, you know? It's like selling ice to Eskimos. Like, we don't need this stuff. All right, we're out of time. We're out of time. I went way over this week, and I actually didn't even get through all of the tech and stuff. I'm going to have to sort through all this junk and get the hell where we are. But men, women, wear your bathrobes proudly. Just don't do it in front of, like, people that aren't your family or, like, your wife, you know? And especially, you don't need to, like, there's no reason to be opening your robe. Like, so, maybe I'll wear the Deadpool robe for one of the podcasts. See, the good thing is if I'm wearing a robe for a podcast, you guys are only seeing me waist up. Like, I'm usually sitting here with no pants on anyway, but you don't see it, so it's okay, so I can wear my Deadpool robe. I was also looking at some fun, ridiculous Christmas sweaters, so we'll work on that for the highly, highly anticipated first annual Go Tell Us the Wall Christmas special. All of that being said, don't forget, follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/GoTellUsTheWall. Also on Twitter, @TellTheWallPod, or @MagicMuppet, which I always say follow that one. If you're going to only follow one, follow Magic Muppet. There's more going on that one. It's terrible. I'm working on getting number one wall fan Darshan to basically handle @TellTheWallPod. No pants, 9 o'clock. Yes, I reveal this, and everyone's obsessed with them not wearing pants. Yes, I don't wear pants on the podcast. Or do I? You never know. Or maybe I'm wearing, like, leggings. You don't know. I own multiple pairs of leggings. But again, Twitter, @MagicMuppet, @TellTheWallPod. Also, search Go Tell Us to the Wall on YouTube. For those of you that are just watching on the Facebook live feed, if you haven't subscribed, subscribe on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, whatever the hell they call it now, Google Play Music. You can follow us on Podomatic, which is the host. Big shout out to Podomatic. They do a great job of handling everything for us. I actually own yoga pants, Matt. They're just not the tight yoga pants that women would wear. Probably the most expensive pair of pants. I'm going to get to that. I'm going to finish up the podcast and we'll get to that. Of course, YouTube, follow that. More stuff coming up there soon. And, of course, the hub for everything would be SeanO'RourkeLive.com. You can find everything on there. You can find photos. You can email me. You can do all those good things on SeanO'RourkeLive.com. But, of course, always make sure you share. Make sure you subscribe. All those good things. You can reach Patreon through there, which we're still working on, so I'm not pushing it as much. But big thank you to Chris and Bridget, who were our first Patreons, as well as Perry Freeze, who is a more recent Patreon, and we'll give some bigger shout-outs. I'm still sorting through all that good stuff. So, Wall fans, thank you, as always, for joining on this fine Thursday night. Facebook Live watchers, don't go anywhere. We'll give you a couple more minutes. But as always, thank you for listening. This has been episode 38 of Go Tell Us the Wall podcast. I am, as always, and of course, the one and only Sean O'Rourke. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for having that passion that all of you Wall fans have, because we all need to have passion. But Remember, Wall fans, no matter who you meet, no matter what you do, no matter where you go, and no matter why you do it, always, always, always use common sense. All right, Facebook friends, thanks for joining. It's funny, Matt, that you say Sean has yoga pants on. I actually have worn yoga pants in the studio before. They are actually more of the men's yoga pants. They're not the super tight, sexy yoga pants that you would see, many of the women walking around LA. Men too, I guess. But I joke because I think my yoga pants are actually the most expensive pair of pants I own. It is the one pair of Lululemon pants that I own, and they cost like $115. And that would be more expensive really than any other pants that I own. And I love them. I highly recommend Lululemon pants, men or women. They're super comfortable, super versatile, but they're also just very expensive. Like that's like 2 to 3 times the cost of a pair of my jeans. My suits cost more. That's about it. I don't even spend that much on freaking shoes. Spend like $42. Vans shoes are like $42. So that's why I joke about that. That is fun. Oh man. Oh, okay. Everyone on Facebook Live right now, let's give a big round of applause to number one Wall fan, Darshan, joining us this evening. You made it with about a minute left in the show, Darshan. But it's okay. I forgive you. You can make it up to me by posting some awesome gifts on the at Tell the Wall Pod Twitter channel. So that's all right. I'll forgive you. I think Bridget missed it today too, but it's hard to tell because she might have been just watching over Chris's shoulder. But a big round of applause to Darshan. Thank you for joining. Darshan is our number one fan and really our first podcast fan, if you don't count my wife. And actually, I wouldn't count my wife because she doesn't really listen to the podcast. See, my wife has to listen to me like all day, every day. She gets enough of my crap. However, you guys only get like an hour of me a week, so you can put up with it. But that's going to do it for us this week. Darshan, I expect you here earlier next week, unless you're out drinking or seeing Gwar or doing something ridiculous. But hopefully you're doing it with common sense. I'm just kidding. Now I'm just rambling. We've had too much beer tonight. But thank you, Facebook friends, I figured she was watching. I just didn't see Bridget joining in. That's the thing. For those of you that aren't aware, Chris and Bridget are married. If you watch, yes, Di does get a pass. Well, especially because that's the thing is I come out of here like I leave the studio just so keyed up after a full episode. Like when I do videos and stuff, it's quick and I'm like, okay. When I come out after like a full episode, like an hour in the studio, I'm like keyed up and I need to do laps around the house. It's kind of ridiculous. So she has to deal with that side of things. But thank you, Chris and Bridget. I figured Bridget was watching, just kind of watching through Chris's thing. For those of you that aren't aware, they are husband and wife. So sometimes Bridget could be communicating through Chris. I will probably get some texts or emails from Bridget tonight or tomorrow because she keeps me in line and she will basically say, that was stupid. Don't do that again. No, I'm just kidding. Nah. She should. As she should, because I do some stupid things. And we talked a little too much Orange Menace this week. That happens too. So we're going to sign off tonight. Thank you all for joining. People were in and out. We had a lot of good interaction tonight. I was really enjoying the live feed tonight, and we're going to, as always, keep that going because that's the thing we do. But check us out. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, SeanO'RourkeLive.com. Coming soon. Go Tell It to the Baby on YouTube. That's coming in the next week or so. So keep an eye out for that. And please, please, please tell your friends. Share the page. Share the podcast. Whatever it is. If you think it's terrible, tell your friends anyway. Or tell your enemies. That way they can waste some time. I don't know. Just get some damn people watching. We're continuing to grow, though. Again, thank you all. I am, as always, the one and only Sean O'Rourke. This has been the live feed for episode 38 of Go Tell the Wall podcast. And until next week, remember, Wall fans, always, always, always use common sense. Oh, and the Bridget Freeze.